Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sally with the Polka Dot Life, where we share inspiration for paper crafters of all different levels. Today, I'm so excited to share a project with you using the beautiful Begonia Belle Stamp Set. Whether you're just starting out or looking for your next creative adventure, this set has so many lovely details to play with. And before we get started with the tutorial, just remember that you can find all of the measurements, dimensions, all that kind of thing at thepolkadotlife.com. Let's head down to the craft desk and get started. Since December, Stampin' Up! Has been offering a different product of the month each month. To qualify to be able to purchase this product, you have to spend $75 before tax and shipping and after any Stampin' rewards that you might have. And while today we are going to be playing with Begonia Belle, which was the July product of the month, we did just find out about the newest one for August that's called Glow of Harvest Designer Series paper. It's a specialty designer series paper. And there are 12 sheets, 2 of each, single-sided designs, and it has a pearlized finish, at least on one side. Usually with specialty paper, it has a special finish on one side and then a standard finish on the other, but none of us have seen it yet in person, so we don't really know. It has Cajun Craze, Crumb Cake, Early Espresso, Golden Glow, Pecan Pie. Now my printer needs a little love, and I'm too lazy to get up and change my camera, so I'm just going to lift this a little in hopes that maybe you can see it a little bit better. But it looks beautiful. There are pumpkins, just a lot of things that I think we're going to be able to do with just the paper itself, cutting out images, florals, that kind of thing. I know that the fall season is most of us probably, our favorite time of year to craft. I expect this product will be very popular. And it goes live August 4th. I believe it's usually midnight Mountain Time. I am filming this on Monday the 3rd, and I intend to stay up late tonight and place an order because demonstrators have some pre-order availabilities for things, including some new Christmas and fall items for the hot foil system. So I think I'm just going to stay up late and do a little ordering then. So hopefully I'll have this fairly soon to work with and maybe come up with something to show you. But I just wanted to tell you. But as like I say, as of the time I'm filming this, the Begonia Belle is still available, and I think it's lovely as well. So if you can only get each product one time per account, and you're really only supposed to have one account. I think they have some safeguards in place to prevent people from misusing that system. But I wanted to show this to you because I think it's going to be so pretty. And I apologize if this is glary. I did not take this out of the packaging. It is the Begonia Belle Stamp Set. So like I say, if you haven't ordered this and you place an order yet, tomorrow or anytime later than that, just check and see if this is still available. If it's not available, it's not going to be listed. But this is a design that you can keep using over and over again. It's a 2-step stamp, and so there are 2 images for the flowers, 2 images for the leaves. Then there's a small little accent flower and leaf image. We've got some little dashes and some nice sentiments. For today's project, I pulled out 2 different designer series paper packages, and we didn't use any from this one for the project we're going to make today, but on my examples, I did. So this package is the Everyday Essentials Mix and Match. And it's really fun, but I just wanted to show you, like, these 2 I think are the ones that jump right out at you, that you could find it really easily online. And then these are the ones on the back. And I love that Stampin' Up! Oftentimes give us 2 totally different vibes between the A and B sides of their paper. This is a very soothing, calm, relaxing thing. And the vibe on this side is bright, cheery, whimsical. I love it. I'm all for that. Now the designer series paper that we are using in today's project, I pulled in the mixed up patterns designer series paper. And we're going to be using several of these, like I say, and I mixed some, on some projects I mixed from the two packages. But again, two totally different feels to the A and B sides of the paper. And I know I have been asked different times, how do you decide what papers to use? Well, with this one, I started with the stamp set and just did a lot of stamping. And then whatever colors of the flowers that I liked. I think that this is an underused feature of our Stampin' Up website, is that you can use the search bar and type whatever color you want to use. We all have our favorites. We all have ones we don't like. Let's just be honest there. But I knew today I wanted to use the Bubble Bath color and Old Olive. And so I searched those two and found different paper packs that had that color in it. And that's where I started. And granted, you don't always have to be matchy-matchy, but that's just a feature that I use oftentimes when I'm looking at designing a project, that I will decide which ones, what products, are there embellishments, are there specialty papers, what have you. That's just a lot of time where I start. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. Two-step stamping is challenging for me. I am not very good at it. So I will say that between having a couple issues with some very juicy ink pads and just learning how to line this up correctly, I went through 3 sheets of cardstock, and it's fine. I'm fine with that. It is like any other skill or craft or hobby, whatever that you have to practice sometimes. You just do. And so that is what I did. Before we get into our stamping, I wanted to show you this set too. I have a feeling this will go on the last chance list, which also updates August 4th, 2026. And I used this for the envelope. I thought it was kind of fun. Oops, upside down. But I just stamped this image and this image and to put the address in, and then I used some of that designer series paper here. But I just wanted to show that to you. I think that this is a fun set too. So let's bring in some paper. I have a couple pieces here, no certain size. I just brought in some larger pieces. The flowers are larger. Let's just bring all kind of things in here. And we have Old Olive and Bubble Bath. Let's start with our 2 larger images. Like I say, you need to just practice, and you need to decide how you like your flowers stamped. You can do 2 different colors. You can do a stamp off technique, like a second generation stamping. All kind of fun things. So what I found, and I'm going to use my Pierce mat because these are large images. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to pull that one out, and I'm sorry. This has been well loved, and so you will see some of these cute little splash and relax images coming up soon. Let's make that a little straighter. So let's begin with the Bubble Bath. I found myself, if you are a younger person, you might not have an issue with this. I find that particularly with my vision, my eyesight, my situation, I needed to stamp the darkest color first. And in experimenting, I found that this larger image is the one I used my lighter color on. So see this one just with the two little pieces there? That's what I stamped first. And so I am going to stamp this and let that get on there. And you will see, this is how I lined up my images that I found worked for me. You find your own way. That is the one thing great about paper crafting. There's just there aren't many hard and fast rules about how you have to do things. You find what works for you and you stick with it. So I found with this one, you can see there's this little place here. You can see these couple marks. So this place here and then this little space here is how I lined mine up. And I put this grid sheet down today, ooh, big hair, to stamp off. And then, sorry, I have to put my head in the camera a little bit. And you just kind of turn. I found the little one was my kind of first point of contact here. And then I just rotated it until this other swoop was in the thing. And that's pretty good for me. I'm going to tell you, I'll take that all day long. I had a few that just didn't turn out well, but I learned, and I'm going to show you in today's project, if your flowers don't line up just properly, don't get mad and throw them away. You can cover up both layering, or I'm going to show you another way on this project today of how we can do that. Another way we can work with it. Sometimes mistakes in crafting are nothing more than happy accidents. So now let's go to our leaves. And I always kind of forget. It's just, okay. This is the one I want to stamp first. And it's the one that has a more solid, like little fingers on the inside. So I'm going to stamp once. And I could have lined these up, be a little more paper saving. I could have done better. And I think those are really fun. And then let's take the other one. And let's stamp off. And I like that these just these are a little easier to line up. But again, if you don't line yours up properly or just 100% on the money, don't even worry about it. Leaves on plants are all different. It might look better, in fact, if they aren't uniform. It would be more representative of real life. So, see, like that doesn't bother me because when I fussy cut, I can cut that off if it does. There are no dies for this stamp set, but it was very easy to fussy cut out. So I just quickly off camera cut this other piece down to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And that's going to be for the inside. And I'm going to take this out of the way just because I kind of want to use my grid paper. I have just this little scrap. I'm going to bring my trimmer in real quick and just cut this. It's not even going to be a full 1/4 inch. That's okay. It's just to add a little interest. That's all it's for. So I have that little piece. And if you don't want to do this part, you don't have to. I'm just going to kind of lay this here about, I don't know, and I think I'm even on the metric side here of my grid paper. But I'm going to put that up somewhere in that vicinity, maybe a little bit higher. But I'm going to start with my little small leaf image. And again, I'm sorry for getting my head in the middle of that. There's that one. And let's get this bubble bath open again. And have our little, it's 2 flowers, like a little ball and a little more elongated. And you just kind of look through, and this also I needed to practice, and I see I'm off on this one a little bit too, but it's fine. It doesn't bother me. If it did, I could just flip that over. In fact, if you want to do that, we can just give it another little try. And again, to put this is just why, and I used cardstock just because I was going to be demonstrating it and I wanted to see how it worked on the cardstock. But if you're just doing this for yourself at home, I would use my grid paper, I would use some junk mail, I would use some typing paper, copier paper, whatever that you have that's not quite as, I don't feel like our cardstock's super expensive, but sometimes you just want to save your nice things and respect them. So there we go. Let's try this one more time. And you just rotate it to where you like it. And I didn't do much better on that side. But if I wanted that rotated, I think I like it better than the first one though. But if you kind of are short of that a little bit, here's how you fix that. You take your blender pen and you just put your blender pen in your ink pad and kind of clean it off, make sure it's the right color, the right shade, and then just kind of dot in to up closer to those flowers, or just extend that. If you have an area of your image that doesn't stamp well, like, you can just go in and do that, and it's a lot less noticeable than trying to do something like that. So that is how then I just adhered this, and you can adjust this to however you would like it to be. If you don't like to write on a card, put it pretty high up. If you need more room to write a message, then do that. And I am going to just dot that here and let that set up for a minute. I loved that last year at one of the virtual retreats, we learned that this tombow is actually, well, we should have known it anyway, it's written right on it, but we were reminded, I should say, that our tombow is actually repositionable if we give it the chance to set up and dry first. So let's just slide that over here. And then I have this, which I guess I still needed the old olive for. And if you haven't used a stamp set, you always want to stamp on grid paper or junk mail or something first, and kind of, you may even have to do this. I've used mine, but sometimes just doing that, there's a process. It's a manufactured product, so sometimes there's a little bit of residue from the process, and you just have to clean it off. And I'm just putting that in the center there. And now I can put my ink pad away. And I'm just going to put this off to the side. And then I just, like I say, and it doesn't matter for this whether you're on the metric side or you're on the inches side. You're going to do this all the same. I kind of covered up the bottom of my stem. I like that. And see, it's even hard to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Old lady, eye problems here. Let me grab my scissors. And then we just snip off that excess. And I could use any color, pattern, you know, whatever. Even though I use this, you can use a different one if that's what you have left. Now, to save a little time, I already had things cut out. And I even had an extra in case we had a little snafu in stamping. But I had just cut out a bunch of leaves. This is from the Spotlight on Nature. It's about a 3-inch circle. And so you can substitute any, it doesn't have to be a circle. It can be a square. It can be, you know, whatever shape that you want to use, depending on what stamp you're using. You might be using something different that, you know, you want something else. And again, just reminding you that those measurements will all be on the polkadotlife.com. So you don't need to worry about knowing what they are right now. And this is one of those that if you just had a scrap that didn't quite meet the size, you could adjust it. I think as paper crafters, we're good about flying by the seat of our pants sometimes. Okay, I think I like it this way better. I'm actually going to put this together here. And first, we just want to make sure I'm in the frame here. Just kind of, you start and you just want to center this. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there we go. 3 squares on both sides. And you could totally flip-flop the patterns. This happened to be the pattern I chose today is the pink or the bubble bath on one side and the old olive on the other. It just kind of happened to work out that way. So we can line it up this way and then just kind of tap that before we push it down. I like to use my tape runner often on my designer series paper layers. I don't know why. I like it better. And we could have used this also. This pattern is different. This bubble bath. I could have chosen that one instead of this crosshatch or diamond shape. We have so many fun things to play with. I think that's often our dilemma, is there are too many fun things to play with that we want. And I'm just going to center this and put it on my card. This one I kind of did like having this flat on the top side and the scallop on the bottom of the light color, but I mean, it just kind of depends on how you look at that particular piece of pattern paper to see how you like it. And then I didn't adhere this down to a certain place. I just kind of, I knew that I wanted this to come down on the green, on the old olive a little bit. And so I tend to like a little more weight at the bottom than the top. So that's just kind of where I went with this. And I'm trying to be more aware of where I am on the camera. I get lost in making things and forget, so I'm sorry if that ends up being off just a little bit. And then this one, I am going to use my Tombow just a little bit here. I just thought it would save a little time to have these pieces pre-cut for you. Now you want to leave enough room. This is where you also need to That's why I wanted to use my liquid glue. I want to pull that up enough to where this isn't crowded in here. And sometimes when I do one like this one I had cut to size, but sometimes I like to do a larger piece so that if I don't get it quite centered, then it's fine. Then I have options. I can just, you know, center it manually and cut off the excess. And see, I even glued this down differently than what I told you, but it's fine. You can't, this is a small piece and it's a small print. It's just preference, whatever makes you happy. Let's go ahead and put our inside layer in before we decorate our front. See that and I'm going to do this a little bit differently. On my one I made previously, I put a layer of bubble bath in here. Again, you don't have to do that. I like both ways. They're both fine. And I think I need a new trimmer blade, so that's why I'm smoothing that piece out. So what I decided to do for this is I wanted a little, not necessarily grungy, but a little roughed up. And see, like, I've already fussy cut these out. See, that one I didn't get quite lined up as nicely as this one. And this one's still not even perfect either. But I thought this technique, you could actually use this for. Let's use this one. Let's use the less than stellar one. And I just kind of put it in the palm of my hand and push on it a little bit. Just to kind of, we're not going to do like a bone folder thing, but we're just going to squish it and roll it and just work it over a little bit. Put your thumb in here, break down those fibers a little bit. You could, you know, crush it in your hand one way. You could roll it, even roll it in your hands just a little bit to break down that fiber and get some texture in it. You could absolutely do this. This is how we're going to be adhering it with some leaves, but you could absolutely, if this isn't your thing, just do it flat. Or if you're using a different type set. Now I'm having a hard time seeing which is even the front because it has added so much little texture to it. I love it. And you just kind of pop it around there how you like it. Then I'm going to take these dimensionals, and I'm not going to like pop them up all over, and especially since I'm using these edge pieces. I even stamped on the back. That's what that was, is I had a mistake and flipped that over. I just didn't love it, and I think I forgot to stamp off. And I just flipped it over and used that again. So let's just see what that's like. Nothing has to be permanent at this point. And I think I'm gonna just put that pointing this direction a little bit. And if I wanted to kind of crumple that little boo-boo place up a little bit, I can do that and just give it a little bit of lift. It's just kind of hard, I think, with this color. It's so light, especially when you're stamping something off, to always tell just exactly how things are supposed to go. And the leaves, I brought in, like this one's a little darker than this one. And let's see, these no, I guess I stamped those both the same way. But the same way with the leaves, if you use one stamp first versus the other, you may get a little different effect that you like better. So go ahead and do that. Let's just go ahead and get these all scrunched up. But like I said, if you don't like this, you just go for putting things on just like you normally would. I think that it's fun sometimes to go outside of our comfort zone, and that's kind of what I did here. I don't do a ton like this. Just don't want any big, super flat parts, especially on the leaves. But I mean, leaves, depending on the plant, can be a little variegated. They can have, they vary in texture, in size, and shape, all of those things. And I've got to use all of our dimensionals. And now that that fell off, we're just going to move that over here. I will fight with that another time. And I'm, for the longest time, I always thought about dimensionals as just to give lift, or dimensionals, just to give dimensional or lift to a project. But they are actually considered one of our adhesives. So you don't need a ton. These are, once these sit, you have a little bit of time that you can, lift these up. You can always cut them off too, and like remove residue with your glue eraser if you need to. But once these sit, they're on there. They're not going anywhere. And like I can put a little out in here. And you can hop one over the other. But I think that's just a little fun, different thing to try if it's something that you haven't done before. And then I have our dewdrop embellishments. And I thought these were kind of fun. I liked using the bigger ones on these. I'm not always, on my cards, I don't always love the big ones. But this is a good opportunity. If you don't normally like the big ones, use them here, because this works really, really well. And I put my end ones on first. And there. You could add some Wink of Stella to this if you like. You could just do all sorts of things. Now here, I'll show you the one I made before. I do think I like the little bit of color. And I know a lot of people don't always have ideas what to do with the inside, so I try to do that. But see, you can see I lined that one out so much better on this. And I could even go and cut one out and kind of put it on top and do, so it looked like there were a few. There is a small leaf stamp. I just felt it was kind of crowded to use it, so I didn't. But I love these. So this is our one for today. Bring our little envelope back in. Even though it's a different type of flower, I still love it together. I think it just makes it happier to go through the mail. And like I say, I just colored these in with my Stampin' Blends. Used my dark olive on the dots and on the dark bubble bath in the centers, even though it's really negligible. You can't really see. So I love that. Here's kind of where I started with this little one. I did this, let's see, I did one on the front of the envelope, a flower. And I just popped this layer up. I'm not even sure if this is still available. Let me look really quickly here, because I can search for that. I have my computer next to me. Actually, it is. It's, I think, from with the Cute as a Bug set, that it is still available. And this would be darling with some Christmas things. I am a lover. I am a fan of Old Olive. I think that it's like that congenial honor student, like you can put Old Olive with any other person or situation or color and ask it to do anything, and I think it always comes out shining. I think it just is one of those colors that plays nicely with most all of the other ones. And then in the inside, I just put a little piece of that designer series paper. And I thought, of course, with the bright yellows, that the daffodil, I needed to use You Are My Sunshine. And then this one, I used Highland Heather, and I never use Highland Heather. And I used this piece of Lost Lagoon striped cardstock, and I just built a scene. This label is from the Silly Old Bear set. And these gems are silver. I thought it looked nice with these cooler temperatured looking flowers. And you'll notice this one I stamped one way and this one I stamped another. So like you can see, these outer leaves are darker and on this one they're lighter. So it's fine to mix them up. And then again, I just did a little piece of DSP on the inside. And this one I did just a little bit of the flower off the side. And then I probably had the most fun doing this one, but I thought it might just take too long for a video. I love this. I think it's just so happy. This one I used two different colors. I used Daffodil Delight and Lemon Lolly. This one is Calypso Coral. This is the Bubble Bath again. This is Garden Green. I very rarely ever use Garden Green, but I have this ribbon that I loved, and I do think that one still might be available. It might not. I don't normally use expired products. Let me pull that one up. It is on the last chance list. And so, like I say, today the price is $7.20 for a roll. Tomorrow it may be different. And I think that we use Garden Green a lot at Christmas. This would be great for gift wrap, any of those things. Don't just limit yourself with your supplies. You can do science fair projects. You can do, those boards they put together. You can do all kinds of things, especially, like I say, with going back to school. Just know that sometimes you can pick up some things on the last chance list that you can just tuck away for either gift wrapping, or if you have a child or grandchild and school projects, sometimes those work. And I use this little stamp, this little dotted dash stamp, and just put that around. I just built that to kind of go around, and then I used some Lemon Lolly embellishments, and then I just repeated in here. I could have used plain color Calypso Coral. I just decided to use it with that stamp. And then another piece of that designer series paper from one of those packages. And I thought it was really, really happy. So I've just brought all of our cards back in, and our one that we did together today. And I just think that this could be a really useful set for a lot of different occasions. Of course, thank you. You Are My Sunshine can be for anybody that you love. Best wishes could be new job, new home, marriage, any of those things, birthday even. And I just love them. I think they're all super happy. And there was actually another greeting in the set that I didn't even get around to using. But I just love them all. They're fun. Every one of them is different. That's what I like about this set. Sometimes we get tied to a certain thing if it comes in a suite or whatever. At least we feel like we do. But these ones, begonias, come in a lot of different colors. And I thought this was really fun. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Until next time, bye-bye.